Hello, my name is Chris Dreer, and this is our Mondo Cloud June Rewind. So this is a new series that we're starting. So every month we're going to hopefully bring you all the new updates and features that are across Microsoft 365, Copilot, Azure, all that kind of thing. So hopefully it'll be a few things that you've heard of, some things you haven't heard of, and some things that you might think are going to be really useful to your business. So let's take a look at our June version of the update. Okay, perfect. So you can go to www.mondocloud.co.uk and head across to our blog section, so you'll be able to read through this yourselves. But I'm going to just take a few minutes to read through and pick out some of the really awesome things that we think have happened across June and moving on into July. So what we've got to start with, Microsoft Teams. So Classic Teams Desktop is end of availability. So hopefully no one out there is still using the older version of the Teams desktop client on their workstations. Most people would have been transitioned across. Microsoft announced this was no longer being available some time ago, and as of 1st of July, nobody should be able to download this and use it. So if you are, chances are it's going to break. You need to get moved off onto the modern Teams client platform. File attachments and external chats as well. Microsoft will now support the sharing of attachments in external one-to-one and group chats. This feature is off by default, just because it's probably a security best practice. But if you have got some good security controls inside Teams and you have, let's say, you're only allowing external communication with nominated domains or businesses you really know and trust on a day-to-day basis, you could enable this so you could share files with external parties essentially in one-to-one chats or in group chats. So actually has a really good use case. I know plenty of organizations that have got really tight collaborations with different businesses, and they'll take full advantage of this moving forward. Onto a quick licensing update. So some of you may be aware that there is now a discontinuation of some non-profit grant offers. So previously Microsoft would offer non-profits some free licensing across the Microsoft 365 Business Premium and the Office 365 E1. So they used to be able to provide them with a low licensing free of charge, and obviously anything after that they get subsidized anyway. But Microsoft have changed their mind. So they are no longer allowing the Microsoft 365 Business Premium or the Office 365 E1 grants. So people know that is basically going on as part of Microsoft's efforts to streamline its different offerings, and making sure that non-profit businesses have got the most solutions available. I know this has hit a lot of non-profits hard, especially those who've got smaller business user numbers and business user accounts. So yeah, unfortunately, this is just one of the many changes Microsoft are maintaining. So there are other licenses that have been made available, like the Microsoft 365 Business Basic Grant. Obviously, those that know the Business Premium pretty well will know that it's not as fully fledged on the security stack. But again, non-profits, you do get subsidised on your Business Premium licensing, so hopefully the change isn't too hard to swallow. Okay, moving on to Microsoft security changes. So admin consent to third-party apps. What is that? So inside Microsoft 365, you can plug in a raft of different applications and give them permission via what's called Graph API permissions, and that would allow different third-party applications potentially access to read data as part of this. So if you just put your security hat on for a second, that could be something malicious. You could have a third-party app that would be reading data that it shouldn't have access to, or even exfiltrating data it shouldn't. So I'll be honest, this is stuff that a lot of IT providers have been doing straight off the bat by stopping users being able to authorize these applications and going through an approval process. So on the whole, I'd like to think it hasn't made a huge difference to those of us out there who've got good managed security products and good managed security across their 365. But Microsoft's changing this from default, which is obviously a really good thing for all those businesses out there that may not have such a proactive sort of IT partner in that state. Okay, change the SharePoint content access. So this one was a bone of contention for some people. So previously, you could share content via one-time password code. So you would share a document, copy the link, send it to a third party. They would have to prove who they are via a one-time password code via an email. Microsoft are making a change to that SharePoint OneDrive integration. So just to be made aware that if you start seeing files breaking, documents being shared with third parties, start reporting that they can't access content anymore, you're going to have to reshare them, and that will force you to share them in a more secure way. So this is just Microsoft basically tightening up all that shared content out there from all your SharePoint OneDrive organizations. Another quick update coming to the Microsoft 365 Secure by Default setting. So A while ago, Microsoft introduced a secure initiative. So they obviously provide Microsoft 365 tenants to millions upon millions of businesses. But out of the box, if I'm being brutally honest, they weren't that secure. Microsoft recognised this and they started making changes. So they enforced what's called security defaults. So that's enforcing people to have a certain level of multi-factor authentication. It's not as stringent as something as like their conditional access offering, but it's an okay baseline MFA offering, as well as blocking certain things. So what they're also going to be doing is they're taking measures to block legacy browser authentication methods and require admin approval for those third-party apps that we just talked about. So legacy authentication methods could be things like SMTP or older applications or printers, photocopies that may need to talk to Microsoft 365. This is just going to help businesses protect against potential security vulnerabilities and threats associated with like outdated auth protocols. So it's a welcome change to those security defaults, and obviously it's going to help more businesses be secure without them having to do anything. So really positive from that perspective. Okay, moving on to the topic of the year, Copilot. There's been a load of Copilot changes. One of the ones I've been playing around with today and really enjoy is the real-time voice that's now available in the iOS app. What that allows you to do is just inside Copilot, just talk to it and have real natural language conversations. For me, that really helps if I'm multitasking and then I just need to grab my phone or grab the Copilot app on my desktop and I can just start talking to it and just start relaying scenarios. And obviously, being inside Copilot, it's all grounded inside our Microsoft 365 tenant, so we know all the data is nice and secure. Really useful for me for multitasking, to be honest, and allow me to sort of be a bit more dynamic in the way that I move between task to task. Obviously, this should be now available in Android and other operating systems in the near future. Copilot search direct from Edge. So I think most of us inside Edge, browser of choice, is so used to just searching inside the browser what you want for, and it'll go off to Bing, probably more likely Google. But now Microsoft have introduced capability inside Edge that you could actually search it directly with Copilot. So I haven't really played around with this too much myself, but yeah, I'll give it a back this afternoon and see what it looks like. I'm quite used to going off to just using Copilot inside Teams or in the sidebar of Edge, so it'd be interesting to see how this might change my day-to-day habits. Okay, one of the features I'm looking forward to testing later on this month is agents available inside the Edge sidebar. So agents, if you're not aware, are AI-based applications that can help streamline workflows or do things for you, essentially. So repetitive tasks, analysis, research, bringing on a whole raft of different capabilities depending on what the agent's use case is. So Microsoft have been able to utilize agent inside Edge. So they have the potential to research websites for you based on what you're browsing. They have the ability to potentially do things inside those websites while you're browsing, summarizing the website for you in Copilot, that kind of thing. So yeah, I can see how this could really push forward in the future. I watched an example the other day. It wasn't Copilot, it was another AI tool, but they used it to do their shopping on Morrison's. They literally asked the AI tool to pick out meals for a week, what sort of calorie range they're looking for, what sort of things they enjoy for a couple of treats, and it went off and did the weekly shop and put it all in the basket ready to check out. So that's the sort of use case you feel like that's obviously a personal use case. So if you think more business focused, what could that bring to your business? So I'm really excited to see how that moves in the future. Obviously, if any of these updates spark your curiosity, feel free to reach out. Drop us a like on LinkedIn, reach out via email, give us a call, an email, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever you want to do. Get in touch today and let's have a chat. Cheers, thanks. See you next month.